happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
If you sometimes feel like an underdog in business, here's a whole new way to compete. Make one phone call to Sprint, and they'll show you how an innovative long-distance company can make your business more productive. Not to mention, more competitive.
10,000 by the 30. We're in business.
So you can get to be one of those big, rich companies that everybody resents.
Welcome, everybody. Steve, 104, episode 104.
That it is.
One for the homies. Leading into the show, it's been a busy one. We've been trying to knock shit out. I got that drawing pad. That shit is dope, by the way. So hopefully we're going to knock out some cool designs for our shirts on Redbubble. Check that out. But as I was perusing YouTube, which is basically most of my day, I found this like breakdown. This dude does like really intensive breakdowns of murder cases, which, I mean, very weird, but he did one to OJ.
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
And I was like, fuck it. I got work to do. I'm just going to put this on in the background. But this dude said some shit at the beginning of it where I've never even heard this one fact that I can't believe was overlooked somehow. But so OJ, right before all this happened, he was about to make a show called Navy SEALs, I believe, about Navy SEALs. So he was given military training from Navy SEALs, and he even had, and this is the connecting factor, he had a knife that was not in itself rare. You could get it, but really the only people buying it are Navy SEALs. It's like a Navy SEAL knife. And the knife that killed those people, allegedly OJ, maybe not allegedly if we were talking civil suit, was the same knife that he was training with for that show. And I've never even heard that fact. I thought that was wild. And if I'm on the jury and they say that, I'm like, well, the case is closed then. We got blood, we got the Navy SEAL knife, case dismissed. What do you think of that?
Right here on Happened in the 90s.
I wish I remember. I should look it up because the dude has there's a lot of obviously famous murder cases and he does this for everyone. But I mean, it was like 3 hours and I haven't watched it all. But that one fact, I was like, how the fuck did nobody say this shit?
Marsha Clark, you in town?
Yeah.
You ain't calling me.
Fuck, dude. Dropping the ball.
Man. But you got to find a rhyme with that to out battle rap Johnny Cochran.
He had the knife and he took their life, okay? And they just dropped the mic. She's like, beat that, Johnny.
Killed his ex-wife.
Sorry, Ronnie. DJ Glove. Yeah, Ito would have been like, case closed. See me in my quarters.
Desert Storm.
Oh, whatever happened to DJ Clue, Steve? Is he still out there? Or is he just hanging out at the hot tub with Dame Dash?
Man, that's a great question. You haven't heard from DJ Clue in years.
Where you at?
DJ Drama's back in the mix, though. He's made kind of a resurgence. I appreciate that. I was always a fan of the Seals.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, definitely every time we opened, I think that was on, he had a song on like NFL Street. And we used to bump that a lot. But yeah, I mean, DJ Drama, he's out. But DJ Clue, is he dead?
Yeah, he's alive.
He's probably just rich, dude. That guy was a producer. I feel like some of those producers, hopefully they made the money and got out. I don't think that they did, but he had a clothing line and shit. He got hooked up.
Feel like he walked so Khaled could run.
Yeah. Well, is Khaled running or?
He's being the best that he can. He's the best version of himself every day. He's the best.
he is
He's the best.
he is the best, Steve. He always has like videos of him opening like shoes and stuff. It's like, who's watching this? Who's consuming all? How many millions of fans is just watching DJ Khaled not work out and open shoes all the time? Because that's all I'm seeing.
And half-ass working out when he does work out.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah, I saw him trying to box one time. I was like, this dude's about to fucking heave over. They stopped camera like after 5 seconds, I think. Like, this is a Vine video.
He is a national treasure, despite being Floridian.
Don't care about movie stars who live in Hollywood. Don't like their attitude, don't think I ever could. Don't want the good taste, I know I taste good. Why the best things always so misunderstood. Just give me what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered. Hey, give me a Dr. Pepper. Hey, Dr. Pepper. The taste of strange out. Hey, love it.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, the show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Butterfinger BBs and your Escape from the Big Apple cartridges and ask yourself, have you ever had some bomb pussy? Have you ever had some bomb pussy? Have you ever had some bomb pussy? Have you ever?
Damn, what is that, Steve? What are we singing there? Bomb Pussy.
That is from the Dog Pound's debut album, Dog Food, and it's a track called Bomb Ass Pussy with features from Snoop Dogg and ya boy Nate Dogg. And it's just
Damn.
it's a great album, but that's a great song, and that sample was reused by Foxy Brown for her album China Doll. But it's just a minute, and it just has that loop. You got some bomb, ooh. You got some bomb. You got some bomb, ooh. Yeah.
I'm gonna check that out. That's getting put in rotation. I don't know how I missed that one.
Some bomb ass pussy. Ooh. Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things January 26th in the 90s. Starting off in 1990, Boston Red Sox hires Elaine Weddington as an assistant general manager. She would be the highest ranking African American female in a major league front office. And I don't know why we didn't hear about this more.
In Boston, of all places.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't see this one coming. Good job, Elaine. You must be a motherfucker at your job because you overcame all of the odds.
She is a true boss, man. And
when did this start? Because she elevated this motherfucking organization. They went from losers to fucking winners. Was she part of that?
Well, they didn't become that dominant until I want to say late 90s, 2000s. So this is 1990.
Okay.
So I mean, they still have yet to get Noma, and I think they still have who's Wade Boggs. He might did he play for the Red Sox?
Wade Boggs? Hell yeah, Wade Boggs played for the Red Sox. He was fucking boozing it. Drink another one, Wade, you fucking legend. Sláinte.
Along with some clam chowder.
Say it, chowder. Say it, Frenchie. But I mean, Elaine, what's her name? Because we definitely have to put some respect on this name because
Elaine Weddington.
Elaine Weddington? Congrats. Boston. But here's my thing, Steve. What position was she? She was a GM.
Yeah, she would be a general manager
for the Red Sox, and she was the first to have this high of a rank, man.
That's okay. Congrats. Salute.
Now, that following year, 1991, Houston Rocket guard Vernon Maxwell becomes the fifth player in NBA history to score 30 points in a quarter in the Rockets' 103-97 home win over Cleveland. He would join Wilt Chamberlain, David Thompson, George Gervin, and Michael Jordan.
30 goddamn points in a quarter. Was there anybody else doing anything?
Mad Max, man. I mean, he was a great player. but his temper would get the best of him.
Man, sit your ass down.
He was a hothead, and this was before Ron Artest. He actually had an off-court scuffle with a fan in the early 90s, man. And
shit. Like literally during or near, like after a game, or just
during
the game. Damn. Yeah. Okay. This dude did not fuck around. Okay.
Yeah, his nickname was Mad Max for a reason. And, of course, Olajuwon was still his teammate. So, Olajuwon, he did what he did. And was
Drexler on this team yet? This is too
before
early.
Drexler. Yeah, okay. Drexler didn't join until, I want to say, 95.
Okay. Well, Mad Max was beating ass, and I mean, apparently on and off the court in a variety of ways, but 30 points in a quarter, I mean, I'm assuming this has been eclipsed over and over again now, but that's a fucking record, dude.
It's a feat. I believe Klay Thompson, he not only tied it, I think he broke the record. I think Kevin Love, just some years ago, he got close.
Kevin Love.
For the Cavs, yeah. Wow. Kevin Love he's a Hall of Famer, man. Don't
really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm uneducated. I shouldn't say shit. Okay. I'm not gonna say shit,
Yeah, well, he did numbers in his Minnesota days. His best years were in Minnesota, but then when he came to Cleveland, he wasn't doing the same. But this is when he started playing with Kyrie and LeBron. But he served his purpose, man. And Klay, I think he has the record now because, I mean, he's a sniper. I fucking hate to say it. But someone who probably didn't see Mad Max do his thing against my Cleveland Cavaliers is probably Hall of Fame kicker Jan Stenerud, because he would become the first pure place kicker to make the NFL Hall of Fame.
Laces out.
Jan. God, dude. How much respect disrespect do these kickers get, Steve? Are they just like spit on and stuff in the locker room? Do people like them? I mean, now it seems like they're getting some love. Pat McAfee he was a punter, I think. I don't think he was a place kicker.
He was a punter. Yeah.
You got to have personality, but Jan, he was just booting it, apparently.
Yeah, with the woman's name. Go ahead, Jan. You do your thing, Jan. And, yeah, you definitely get spit on if you can't do that job right. I will say that, man. If that's your one job, and if you go up there missing 4 field goals in a row, you definitely going to have to find your own ride.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing where the turnaround is almost instantaneous. You could have a guy that's like an Adam Vinatieri level dude that's automatic. And then he has a game where, again, he misses like 3 in a row, maybe an extra point. And they're like, bench the fucking guy. Fuck him. I mean, my team, I'm always like that. And that's probably because nobody respects the kickers. So until they get a podcast or start just booting these shit 70 yards, just going to continue, Steve. And I'm sorry for that.
You got to learn how to kick it. And that following year, speaking of football, in 1992, Super Bowl 26 came from Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Washington Redskins beat the Buffalo Bills 37-24. The MVP would be Mark Rypien, quarterback of Washington.
Better watch those jerseys too. They might get stolen. You never know. But I remember watching this. Joe Gibbs, I believe, was the coach for the Skins.
Yeah.
Or the Washington Commanders, as they're now known. But look at that. You know what I miss, Steve? Maybe it's still like that sometimes, but that Buffalo Bills logo, I love that. I don't like Buffalo. I don't like the team. I think the fans are crazy, and I think that's funny, but I miss that helmet, Steve. I miss Jim Kelly always losing when it really mattered,
Yeah, it made you feel like this is the 90s. Bills are supposed to be losing. Cowboys are supposed to be halfway in jail, halfway celebrating Super Bowls.
You got a Bush in office. Everything's stat quo, Steve. It's just, misogyny still allowed. We can say things. We can do things. This is great. Jim Kelly's throwing an interception in an untimely time. These things happen.
It's okay to laugh at Andrew Dice Clay jokes and Al Bundy snaps at his neighbor.
Maybe this is God's way of saying, hey, fellas.
But shout out to Joe Gibbs, because I kind of feel like he's got some Greg Popovich-ness with him. He's done the most with what was given to him, because Doug Williams, who he won with in the 80s, and Mark Ryman, they're not Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And typically, when you have an era of Super Bowl wins, there's a key member, usually a key quarterback in those instances, man. If you go down the timeline of Super Bowl winners and you see, oh, this team won this year, and a couple years later they won, typically the quarterback was that dude of his time. Mark Ryman, not so much, but he was most valuable player in the Super Bowl.
That's it's crazy to me. You'd think it would be some defensive guy or some shit, but yeah, Mark Rypien, there he was at one time. This is like when Virgil won that match last week, when we were like, this is his moment in the sun. This is it. I mean, and it's a hell of a moment to have. You won the Super Bowl and you're the MVP. That's pretty fucking dope.
But don't get too comfortable, kid, because this is it. Take cheese as hard as fuck as you can for these pictures, because a couple of years they're not going to give a fuck.
Yeah. You know, this is like a quarterback that won, like, remember, what was the quarterback with Baltimore when they were winning? It was like Brad something, or I forget. Mark Brunell. I forget who it was. It wasn't Mark Brunell, but that's an example of a guy who he could have won a Super Bowl, but you wouldn't have given a fuck.
Flacco and the guy before him, yeah, that won in I want to say 2000, 2001, that guy, like same deal.
Yeah, dude. But, you know, Mark Rypien, there you go. And this is probably the last time the Redskins or the Washington football team or whatever the fuck you want to call them at this point were good. So there you
go. Someone who was probably watching this Super Bowl along with us in 1992 were Marlon, Sean, Keenan, Kim, and the whole rest of the cast of Living Color, because they had their first ever Super Bowl halftime special. And I think they're only because it came with controversy. And we kick it off with the crew, man. They're introducing right at halftime, and we see Pauly Shore, familiar face and a name we bring up quite often on the show because he's a relic of the past of this time.
We's a little Jews. No, we sing the Jews.
But yeah, they're having a halftime party. They got a little countdown clock, and In Living Color is going to hang out with you until the second half of the game comes on, which I think is dope, but I cannot believe somebody allowed these guys to have a live show, because they even say it. They're like, the censors are just waiting, sweating their ass off right now for this. And, you know, they don't disappoint. This shit is hilarious. I was dying laughing while I was watching this.
And this is smart marketing on Fox's half, because this is before they got their license to air anything NFL. So they figure, hey, we're still the new kids on the block. So let's find some way to associate ourselves with this big event that's been aired for the past, 20 plus years. And our first skit is introduced. It's Homeboyz Shopping Network. It's Keenan and Damon. And they're stealing shit. Basically, that's the premise of the skit. They're always trying to sell hot merchandise. You know, they have field they have field passes, and you know, they can get you on the field even. You know, they can play,
Steve. You can get in the game. And they actually, here's my thing. These guys are the grifters, but they ain't grifting because they got a guy on the field who comes out like right when they're talking about this, and he looks a little worse for the wear. Maybe Bruce Smith smacked him up a little bit or something happened. But, you know, somebody's going to buy these things. That's a hot ticket item, Steve. On the field?
All you got to do is get bulldozed by Thurman Thomas a couple times. No big deal. But they can get you on the field.
And, you know, somehow they came into possession of a bunch of loose credit cards too, because they've been walking around. They walked into one of the locker rooms. Bam! They got like fucking 30 credit cards. Turns out one of them actually is Thurman Thomas's, Steve. And, you know, didn't he just get that deal?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm going to hold on to that one. But
so
these guys are ripping off NFL players, and that's ballsy because you might just get fucking got, Steve.
They're ripping NFL players. They stole Mark Rypien. somewhere in the second quarter, I'm guessing they've got him in the locker, and I guess they couldn't tie him down long enough because he found his way back on the field to become MVP of the Super Bowl. But with Thurman Thomas's credit card, I guess that's how they got that big ass widescreen. And
that's the Jumbotron, Steve, and it's even got a portion of the wall. I don't know how they got that done between the two of them, but I'm wondering what the list price on that is, though. You know, how much could I get that back in the 90s?
More money, more money, more money. That's the price.
Yeah. And, but I mean, now that they've done this, Steve, they've done this at the Super Bowl. What's next? They're going to break into Disney World.
And they have a thing called Most Valuable Perpetrator. And they also introduced this car. And Keenan says, check out the classic lining, the headlights, check out the trunk space. And the car comes with it. And they're referring to that hottie toddy that was presenting the car. And then that's that. They're on a time limit.
And then we cut back to the party, Steve. And this is where I want to point out another famous face. I don't know if you noticed this. I only noticed because I saw it on IMDb, but Leonardo DiCaprio, a very young Leonardo DiCaprio,
out
just
in the
chilling.
mix.
He's right in the, if you're looking on our video, he's going to be in the lower right corner of the video for a short time, possibly right before him and Sam Kinison just railed a couple of lines backstage.
I totally clocked that.
He's there. I mean, this looks like I don't think it was, because I'm trying to think of what time period this was, but like a Romeo and Juliet looking Leonardo DiCaprio, like that age-ish.
Yeah, he's still an adolescent, but this is on the tail end of Growing Pains. Mikey. And that show had already ended, but that's probably what he's known for up to this point, because this is before the movie with Johnny Depp, where he plays full retard. And
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Yeah.
What's Eating
And
Gilbert
this
Grape?
night, though, Steve, I don't know if you found this out. He did do a line bigger than Sam Kinison in the backstage area, so he actually beat Sam Kinison in doing blow that night too. So that's another achievement Leonardo DiCaprio can tip his cap to. Fun fact.
Get Pussy Crew, man. And our next skit is Fire Marshal Bill at the sports bar. And a guy orders a flaming kamikaze. And as the bartender is preparing this flaming kamikaze, Fire Marshal Bill puts out the fire.
Not on my watch. Yeah, and this one gets crazy, Steve, because I mean, you know, it's Super Bowl night. There's going to be a lot of bad decisions made and a lot of like unfortunate accidents, and he's just trying to educate people, as he always is. This guy's a civic fucking hero. He's just trying to protect the public. So no kamikazes. He's got a fire extinguisher here. But you know, the waitress, she's being a little bit clumsy, a little lackadaisical. He's like, let me show you something. Let's say you accidentally pick up a dartboard instead of your tray. And then he walks over and he's like, hey guys, can I get a couple? And he just takes like 5 fucking darts to the grill. And I don't know if like how much the waitress is consuming, like drinking, but I don't think this is going to happen, Fire Marshal Bill. I don't know. I don't know people like that.
And then he's concerned about how close the karaoke machine is to the TV. And, he's like, rock them, sock them, kick them till you lick them. He's preferring like being a cheerleader. He's just like, what about all of a sudden you just get so enthused that you just throw some Gatorade on you? And that's when he just electrocutes himself.
Because he took a mic and just deep-throated it and then poured the Gatorade on himself. Because, you know, that happens at a party. I've seen that 1,000 times, actually.
The House on Napoleon is infamous for stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. A lot of bad decisions there. I wish he was there to stop us, honestly. But then I kind of like tuned a little bit of this out because I was like, I don't remember why this happened. But then an axe just comes into play and he straight chops a couple of his fingers off just on somebody's table. I mean, this is a terrifying night now. This isn't a fun time.
And the guy says, so like, what were we supposed to learn from that? And he said, sometimes you have to figure things out for yourself.
And then a bomb, he's like, maybe you just get all crazy and you got a bomb in your hand and you start dancing and you're getting crazy. And then he Neon Dion's this shit, like does a little dance. Everybody leaves the building. He just fucking spikes the shit. And I mean, I don't know what was in that thing, but the whole bar, it's gone, Steve.
Yeah. Another
what lesson are we
destroyed.
learning now? I mean, this you fucked the guy's career up. You fucked the guy's business up, Fire Marshal Bill. Shame on you.
Some do's and don'ts in the sports bar. That was his purpose this time around. And next up, we have Sugar Ray celebrity interviews, and it's basically Tommy Davis in his street clothes doing his Sugar Ray impression, which is spot on for the most part. And I had to do my research on the guy to the left of me who looks like Anthony Kiedis. His name is Phil Buckman, and he was in the band Fuel, and he was in a band before that.
He was in Fuel with that blonde, like ghoulish dude.
Yeah,
I thought this guy was an actor that was like he's always like a douche, like a dummy and I think he's actually on Frasier. Like he was like a some sort of like fix it dude in The Apartment.
He is. He's a musician and actor. Phil Buckman. He was in a lot of stuff actually. Weird Science. Frasier, he was Leo in Frasier, Beverly Hills 90210, Very Brady Sequel, King of the Hill, Boston Public, Marvel Heroes, Days of Our Lives, Drexel's Class, Wings. So yeah, he's hit the 90s circuit, man.
And, I mean, if they were doing a Anthony Kiedis biopic, he needed to play him like this. I thought it was too until he said Phil, and I looked up who it was.
And
how you doing? How you guys having a good time? Phil, how you doing? You enjoying the time, man? Enjoying the halftime show? I can't do it that well. He does good, but it is weird. He's just like out there. Yeah, and everybody doesn't really know how to react. They're like, yeah, I'm having a great time.
Well, it's mostly ad-lib, I'm assuming, because it's live, and they were just like, hey, Tommy Davidson, do your Sugar Ray thing and put some celebrities around him. Blair Underwood is there, and we also have Corin Nemec, Parker Lewis himself, as well as Pauly Shore.
Excuse me, sir? Is there enough nugs in the house for you? Yes, sir. There's plenty of fly girls here, and they're very moisture.
Pauly Shore, it still doesn't make sense to me either, Steve. I know he had a connection like through his mom, like through to comedians and stuff, but the push this guy was receiving. What were people? They're like, this guy's gold. This guy's spewing gold. Are you hearing the shit coming out of his mouth?
We's a little juice.
I can't write this.
He's a pothead. Like he'll be like a pothead, like stoner surfer kid, and like the youth can resonate with that.
We got a lot of losers out there. They need people like this.
Makes them feel good about themselves. It's the 90s.
Yeah, we need it. I like that, Steve. You're right. And then we get to the just creme de la creme, something that's so hot and spicy they had to edit some of the shit out. We don't even know what all was said, but Men on Football, Steve. And this is, I mean, this might be the best version of this because the amount of wordplay you can do with tight end and all that shit, it just is comedy gold.
And of course, the focus this time is football, the Super Bowl, and they're talking about the names. And you know, I think it was Twan that commented on it. You know, talking about Dick Butkus and Bob Greasy. It's like, isn't he a tight end?
He was. Yeah. Wilson Sporting Goods, they talk about them because they're an official sponsor of Men on Football, but they're the official ball of the NFL. Yeah. Again, I ain't touching that. A lot of that stuff. But man, there's one thing that they like he talks about, you know, the teams. I think this is actually Damon Wayans' character. I forget his name. Antoine
Merriweather.
And he's like, I wish it was the Oilers versus the Packers.
That's a thought.
And then we get to uh them trying to teach each other how to play football a little bit and just like, you know, hike a football.
But isn't that gonna hurt you? Take the ball, silly. Go ahead, stay high.
Yeah.
I think I've done this one before.
Yeah.
Go on.
Too many men on the field? That sounds like party time.
When they all greased up, looking all sexual. Like David Allen Greer goes on like a 3-minute shit about it. And what I love about this always is you can tell they're like looking at each other, trying not to laugh and just outdo each other in the insanity. And that's definitely true here, because especially at the end, you can tell they were like, I don't believe we fucking got away with that one.
Where's the men's that's supposed to chase me? I don't like this game.
But as we said, and this was, I would never know other than a weird cut that I saw in the video and IMDb, but they did cut a portion of this from, I guess, the replay and then any subsequent version of this that you can see. And they edited out a couple of ad-libbed lines implying that Richard Gere and Carl Lewis are homosexuals. So I don't know what they said, but that's what they said.
Well, I was able to watch the unedited version on YouTube, and that's separate from the episode. And when they talked about Joe Namath, and I guess there was a commercial back in the day where he wore underwear, and one of them said, well, isn't he married? And the other says, well, so is Richard Gere. You should have saw that gerbil in the wedding dress. And in the end, I believe it was Damon Wayans who mentioned like our next episode is going to be about the Olympics. And you want to know why Carl Lewis can run so fast? Yeah, you can't hide and seek forever.
Oh shit. Well, you got to look deep, but apparently you can find it out there, guys. So look into it. This is honestly one of the funniest sketches. They never would. It would never work as a movie, but this is one of the funniest recurring sketches that they had. And it was so this one killed it on this episode.
If you look at the performers, man, Damon and David Allen, man, you can't go wrong. And
you know what I love about Damon Wayans, though? It seems like anytime he's given a shot, he's just like, I don't give a fuck what you're telling me not to do. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. Because, you know, he left SNL. There's this. There's a lot of shit where it's just like, he seems like a very, just like he's sure of his talent, which I love.
He puts the money on himself, man. Yeah. You know, he's a visionary, a renegade of sorts, because, you know, like I said before, man, he left SNL unceremoniously, man, and he started this with his brother and his rest of his family and his homies. He did In Living Color. He had some back and forth with the suits at Fox, some disagreements with, you know, the vision and, you know, the progression of the show. So he left them and just like, you know what, I'm just gonna start doing movies. I'm ready.
I mean, I don't know how much people like, but obviously I'm a huge lover of his movies because I talk about Bulletproof all the time, and that's probably his least favorite movie of his catalog. But like, he was killing it for a while in the movie game. Like, The Last Boy Scout was sick.
Mo Money.
Bulletproof, to me, Mo Money was sick. He was in like a lot of those, and then he started getting his own. He was in that basketball movie, I can't remember, with like Daniel Stern, where they kidnapped
Celtic Pride.
Yeah. And he was in a movie called The Great White Hype that was like a boxing movie thing.
Great White Hype.
He was great in that too. Who made that? Because that was like kind of a spoof movie, wasn't it?
I believe so. But also Blank Man, which we covered.
Oh shit, yeah. How can you forget? And Major Payne. I mean, he really was. He did it. So when somebody is like this, and we talked about like recently, just people that do shit their own way, like Hunter S. Thompson and stuff. And he's like another guy, like, and his brother, Keenan Ivory Wayans too. They just were like, I don't, you know, fuck all that. Yeah. I'm good doing it this way. I'll get paid.
And lo and behold, he would return to host SNL. So, you know,
Hell
he made
yeah.
amends with Lorne. And our final skit is a background guy. of the Super Bowl interview, and Jamie Foxx is playing the coach, and this is recurring. It's basically Jim Carrey just, letting him have the reins and just doing whatever comes to his mind in the background. While something's going on at the forefront, Jim Carrey, he's being Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he's that guy, the behind the news guy, just like, it goes from that. He strips naked at one point, does a lot of physical comedy, and then like at the end of the sketch, he's getting arrested.
Yeah.
And he kills both cops, and like that's the end of the skit. So
definitely can't do that these days, especially for Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but it's cool that they did it.
It's kind of crazy to think about that, though. Like, that's what I was saying. It's crazy. Fox was like, you know what? We are like new. Like, let's do this. But man, you guys, it was a great choice for people that like comedy. But man, like you said, like the censor people, they were just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. And, this is around the Rodney King time, around the time of the LA riots. So the temperature was piping hot, man. And, I think more people that I knew watched this as opposed to the Harry Connick Jr. national anthem performance on the actual Super Bowl. And we finish out with Sam Kinison. He shows up, speaking of the devil, and Color Me Bad performing I Wanna Sex You Up. Tick tock, you don't stop all night. Make you feel all right.
We need to get matching, like those color corresponding suits that they're rocking, Steve. We can rock a Color Me Bad look once when we do a live show or something.
Very Dick Tracy with the primary colors.
Yeah, they're Sin Citying it up, and I didn't remember Color Me Bad looking like that. And the one guy even almost looks like Snow, who we were talking about the other day or the last week, I think. So maybe Licky Boom Boom Down happened after this too.
It did. And one guy looked like Snow, one guy looked like Kenny G, and the other was a black guy. Gotta have that,
Wendy's presents A Class Act, starring a quarter-pound of fresh beef, 3 strips of sizzling bacon, a plentiful parade of sliced mushrooms, and a premiere performance of rich and creamy cheddar cheese. Now appearing for a limited time only, Wendy's new Bacon Mushroom Melt. Bravo!
I hate to steal a show, but it's time to eat.
The new Bacon Mushroom Melt, only at Wendy's. Try one today.
Now, somebody who probably didn't watch this Super Bowl or the In Living Color halftime special was probably American wrestler Sasha Banks. She is a icon in the making. She's current. She's won the women's championship several times. She main evented WrestleMania before. She's kind of a part of this woman wrestling renaissance that's currently going on, along with Charlotte Flair, amongst others. And yeah, she's also the little cousin of Snoop Doggy Dogg, Calvin Brodus.
She's pretty cool too. I've seen her on like podcasts and stuff, and she's just seems like a cool chick. I'm not into wrestling enough to really know how good of a wrestler she is, but she looks a part. She looks hot.
Yeah.
She looks like she's bodied up. So that's one part of it.
Very hot, very bodied up, and she does the homework, just like Charlotte Flair, just like a lot of the women now, man. It's not just hair drags and Jerry Springer episodes, just scratching and cat fighting. Like they actually do like somersaults onto the apron and like some ECW shit, kind of.
Hell yeah. I mean, I've seen some shit. We went to like a live thing back when I still lived in California, where I think it was the first time SmackDown was on Fox. It was pretty recent. It was like and it was like the first time they were doing a taping. There were all these superstars, but they had a couple of lady matches. I don't think Sasha Banks was one of them. I think it was the Flair chick.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were doing some crazy shit. I was like, this is fucking wild. This isn't Sable, like, hitting somebody in a corner and flashing some tit.
Lita walked so they could run. And
hell yeah.
In 1994, Babylon 5 premiered on PTEN. Never heard of it, but Babylon 5 was a thing. Didn't care for it. The whole star sci-fi shit. There's a limit to my nerddom. Eventually, I want to get some pussy,
Yeah, this is where you had to stop. When it gets to this or Battlestar Galactica, you can enjoy a Star Wars, and still maybe lock in, but this, I just can't. This is when you're like sniffing somebody's mask that they wore on a show 20 years ago type shit, You don't want this.
Yeah. This has Dungeon and Dragon After School Club written all over it.
Yeah, there's definitely like a chick that has tentacles on her head but is busty, and that's how they locked in like all those teenage kids. They're like, "Did you see Xandar? Oh my god." I mean, I'm a nerd, Steve. I can't. I had books of schematics of Star Wars vehicles, and I still managed to get some puss. But I think if you were like, you want to watch some Battlestar? You want to watch some Babylon 5? Like that's when the pussy dries all the way up.
Lose my number, buddy. But something that we did fuck with in 1994, January 26, was The Critic, John Lovett starring vehicle. It premiered on ABC. A short, balding, overweight divorced film critic named Jay Sherman gets a second chance at love when a gorgeous movie star named Valerie Fox falls for him. But it may all go to pieces if Jay doesn't give Valerie a glowing review of her latest movie, the Basic Instinct-inspired erotic thriller, Kiss of Death.
I watched this a lot, Steve. This was a huge part of my childhood, as much as cartoons were at that point, and I love this. I forgot about a lot of aspects of this show, and upon rewatching it, definitely gonna have to go back in because like the fake movie trailers, those like the main like side characters, like his buddy who's like an Australian film star and stuff. It's so fucking funny.
And this like his boss that was like a coach. He's like a football coach / gym teacher kind of guy.
Get out of my way. Yeah, he's just hardcore as fuck. Just like he's like Rupert Murdoch, I think is who he's supposed to be. Everybody's like sort of a caricature of somebody famous, But even like Gene Shalit shows up in this a lot. Like they got some like famous celebrity types that were critics in this that I think is hilarious, and they nailed it. This is honestly my favorite thing John Lovitz has ever done. I'm not a huge fan of his, but other than him playing a weird freak and Little Nicky at the beginning, this is my favorite thing he's ever done. So,
weren't a fan of High School High?
I liked it. There were moments that I liked, but that movie's not. It's better. Watch the preview, and it's way better than the actual movie itself.
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
Like
right. And we open up this episode with Jay getting a call from his mom who says he's been taken out of the will. He has too much money. And oh yeah, happy birthday, by the way. And we go into this. This theme song isn't that bad. It gets straight to the point. It's easy listening.
That's what the vibe of this show is. It's a great theme song for it because this isn't something that's crazy. It's sort of a low key comedy. It's slow. It's just, it is that. And it is a good theme song. There's no music or there's no words. Just kind of lays out New York. And I really like the animation in this too. It's not something I've seen very much of. Like nobody else did a style of show like this. And yeah, dude. It was really fun to watch this because I didn't realize how much I actually like this show. It's not something that immediately jumps out to me as like one of my favorite things from that time period.
It's somewhat similar to Clerks animated series. Somewhat.
Hell yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that's memorable. I just feel like you didn't meet up with your friends and were like, did you see The Critic last night? There was none of that, but I think it's more of a cult thing almost.
Yeah, totally cult thing because it didn't last that long. The show only had 23 episodes total, lasted for 2 seasons, unfortunately. And I remember some shifting around, if I'm not mistaken. I think it went from ABC and then it finished out somewhere else, perhaps. Fox. It actually came to Fox in 95. But we see Jay Sherman. He's about to prepare for going on air, and he's 36 years old. He's lonely, and his hair comes out of a can. He's got one of them spray-on fades that are become popular down here in Atlanta. And So he's not prepared. So he does a mad dash and covers up his bald scalp. And what took me out was the world's greatest granny hat.
That lady, I forget what her name is, his like beautician or whatever. Hey Jay. That lady is awesome. And she runs out. I mean, his days are going so bad that spray hair, the can runs out. So I think she's using paint or some shit.
Is it Margot? There's a Margot in here. I'm not sure.
Margot is his sister, I think.
That's the sister, and then Doris. Maybe it's Doris.
That has to be it. And she's hilarious. And then we meet his boss, Mr. Phillips, who comes in super hot. Actually, that's after this. I'm sorry. So now he's gotten his spray hair on. He's feeling a little down, but he's got to shoot a show. And basically, he's the Roger Ebert of this world. There is a Roger Ebert, but he's like the guy. He's reviewing movies. And this is where I love this show because the movies he's writing, he always shits on them. They're about good movies, but like they give you a preview. The first one is Home Alone 5, where Kevin's like 35 years old and it's like, ah. And the other one is, I don't know what it was called, but it's Arnold Schwarzenegger as a rabbi.
Rabbi P.I.
Have a Nagila, baby.
That's not kosher.
Yeah, dude. It's kind of like, it really, remember like when they would do this on The Simpsons though, they had like a fake Arnold Schwarzenegger character in that, and they would like show you like little fake shit on that level. So they had that going for you. And then he hates these movies, as he always does. And it's a problem because we cut, and his boss, Mr. Phillips, is like, dude, what the we're trying to like let people we want people to want to be on this show. You can't be so fucking critical. Can't you like find some good in this shit? Arnold Schwarzenegger had a great Hebrew accent. Didn't you hear that?
Yeah. And what the vibes I get is Ted Turner. It might be a mix of Rupert and Ted Turner. And
he just talks like this. He's just really gruff. God damn it, Jay. And the guy's a baller though. He's always like he's like going on a plane someplace. He's a tough boss, you know.
And we have our first guest on the show, and her name is Valerie Fox. And she flirts with Jay, saying that she finds smart men very sexy, and she thinks he's very intelligent. And Jay's reviewing her movie Kiss of Death. And I guess she's supposed to be a parody of Sharon Stone because she does her little cross legs moment. And Jay's response,
machi, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, on TV though, everybody can see this shit, lady, Valerie. So you need to watch out. But you know, it's curious. Jay's even a little taken. He can't believe his luck. He's seeing some fresh muffs. She's hot. And who would think on a show segment called Star Poop that he would find love like this, Steve? Congrats. And she won't even talk about the fucking movie. She's here to fucking put out some good words on the movie she's in. She's like, I just want to talk about dating you. Ooh la la.
And right after this, they go straight to the restaurant, man. And Jay even has his own critic section where all the critics eat. And they stop everything they're doing because Conan O'Brien is in the fucking building.
Yeah. And he actually has his own table, not in the critic section. But when Conan O'Brien shows up, his boy, the Asian weird like club owner guy that's his buddy, he gets booted into the critic section with like Gene Shalit, who's reviewing pasta right before he just leaves, you know? And that's kind of what I believe all critics are like. They're just like going to any situation. They're like, well, this happy ending massage was a little lackluster. 1.5. They review everything, Steve. And that's Gene Shalit.
And Jay, he's still not over the fact that this woman is into him. Like, what gives? Like, you're around like studs all the time. You're an actress in Hollywood. And she's just like, yeah, I see pretty people all the time. You know, sometimes I just want to get with a chubby guy.
Yeah. Sometimes fucking Angus gets a date to the prom, you know. Apparently chicks pity fuck fat people, but this isn't real, Steve. I was fat. There was no pity fucking for me. Not from a Valerie.
Yeah.
Not from a Valerie. Maybe you have a Roseanne variety or a Mimi variety, but not Valerie.
But she's seen it all. She's even dated Donald J. Trump himself.
Somebody's a little suspect. But yeah, so I mean, Jay fucking they go back to his spot, which again, baller ass move. This guy does have a New York City apartment, so I mean, you got to leverage that, Jay. You should be doing that all the time. She's into it, but I think she sees like a picture of him with his ex-wife or something, and we get like a flashback to him. He's like, "Oh, that's my ex-wife," and we see him on his wedding day, and shit wasn't great, Steve. His wife was like, "God, why'd I marry you?" At the wedding ceremony.
Yeah. And before she leaves, though, she's like, "It just something doesn't feel right. I can't leave without giving you the jaws."
Yeah.
They do the deed. And the next morning, he's like trying to be all romantic and shit. And to her, from her angle, he looked gross as fuck. He's Jay Sherman. What the fuck?
Yeah, which is what he expects. I mean, that he's like, "Oh, I am ugly."
Yeah, back to reality, buddy. And Marty, he comes into the room and he kind of like just interrupts the whole vibe. And I don't think at this point knew that he had a son.
Yeah, and he doesn't even clock a naked bitch. He's just like, "Dad, where are the Doritos at? There's no Doritos." And he's like, "Motherfucker,
your little
I gotta clean these fucking goddamn sheets up, So, anywho, Jay and Valerie, they're in love apparently. I think this chick even says "I love you" like pretty soon after this, which you gotta red flag that immediately, dude. Like something's wrong.
You should, but he outdoes her and he grabs a megaphone and he shouts to the world that he loves her back.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "Okay, dude, are you rich? Got money or something? What's going on here?"
Or you're a simp.
Yeah, and so right now, this is heaven, Steve. This isn't heavyweights where you're just hoping a girl. This guy got some puss. He's already more prevalent in the pussy community than Frasier.
I am wounded.
You know, we watched Frasier over and over again. He ain't getting any puss.
Yeah, he didn't leapfrog Frasier in the first episode.
Damn. So congrats, Jay. You're doing it. And then Jay goes back to that place he took the chick because that is his spot. He always goes back. That's his diner. He's hanging out with his Australian actor friend who I can't remember his name. What was his name?
Paul Hogan. Oh, well, it's based off of Paul Hogan, the likeness of Paul Hogan, but the actual guy, I tried to look that up too and just ran out of time.
It's something like Hawk.
Jeremy Hawk.
Jeremy Hawk. And yeah, he is very Paul Hogan. He's a sexy Australian dude. Very like cover of a romance novel type energy. Very sexy. And Jay actually is worried because he sees Valerie coming over to their table at this restaurant. And he's like, she's going to see you and she ain't going to want to fuck my fat ass anymore. This is fucked. And then when Valerie gets over there, even Jeremy's like, "You're right, mate. She's going to want to didgeridoo my dong," whatever Australians say. I don't know, but he's like, this, whatever happens, Jay. He doesn't even say he's not going to, but Valerie couldn't be less interested in this dude. She's just like, "Oh, hey. I don't want her."
Yeah, she just dismisses him. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Jeremy Hawk is voiced by Maurice LaMarche, who is a voice acting giant. A lot of stuff animated on television or film, and we watched and appreciated. Man, he's hit the gauntlet from
Brain.
Brain. Yes, he was in DuckTales. He was in the Tiny Toon Adventures. He was in Captain Planet. Take a while.
He was actually one of he did Inspector Gadget's voice too. He was like the go-to dude for a lot everything. He probably did some Ninja Turtles shit, but he was in a movie I've mentioned on this show, I think, called Comic Book the Movie, that has Mark Hamill in it, but it's literally starring voice actors, but their real selves in this movie, and he's one of them, and he does a great Orson Welles impression too that you have to check out.
He does it on this show, on the Critic, man. And I mean, Simpsons, Rugrats, like he's been on just about all of them in the 90s, man, especially. And, he tells his friend Jeremy that, hey, man, I'm going to propose to her. And so Jeremy has a heart to heart with his boy, like, look, dude, two things you don't do: never marry an actress and never do blackface at the NAACP. I found out the hard way.
Rowdy Roddy Piper was telling me to do it, and I just said, okay, Rowdy. Fucking, and he's right. But like, if I'm Jay, I'm like, look at me, dude. You know what those nipples look like?
Them titties, though. Them titties. But it's too late, man. He's ready to jump out the fucking gate with this because she's introduced to the parents. When you introduce her to mama, you trying to make it official. And
that's the move. That's when it all becomes real, Steve.
We're serious. And they are a ragtag bunch. As they open the door, Valerie realizes, oh, you were adopted. Because clearly he does not take after any of them. And we're also introduced to his sister, who's voiced by Christine Cavanaugh, R.I.P. She was the voice of Babe. I believe she was the voice of Bobby Hill. And that's Margot. And he takes her back to his old stomping grounds. And apparently his nickname was Wee Wee. Because he had this issue wetting the bed or wetting himself whenever he got nervous. And one of his old buddies is like, hiya, wee, still wetting them drawers?
And even his parents' butler hates him. He's like, he calls him like a little kid, man child or something. And Jay says something about that, but he does bring his laundry to get done. And the guy won't touch his underwear with like a 10-foot stick. He actually even burns his underwear in front of him, in front of everybody, I think. I always love Jay's mom and dad, especially his dad, because his dad's like a senile, like, oh, one of these people. Oh, yes, very fancy, very Rockefeller-y. Oh.
But still aloof at the same time.
I love that he's like, he has like a fly swatter in his head. He hits Jay in the face. So he's like, did you get it? And he's like, get what?
A peanut is not a pea or a nut.
Oh, yes, Jay. Let me meet your girl. Yes. He has that energy. I wish I'd meet a rich person that talks like that. I've yet to get to that level.
It actually is a nut.
Is it? A peanut is a nut, Steve. Yeah, it is.
But it took him a while for it to register.
Oh yeah. But Margot is like the normal one. She's a very normal chick. She's down to earth, and these people are like rich on the level. They look like Rockefellers. They're living in a mansion. They got a butler. They got a fucking horse stable, for fuck's sake. And a fat adopted son that I think his mom is like, oh, my adopted son, Jay. She introduces him as that.
And man, I got the facts wrong. Margot is actually voiced by Nancy Cartwright, who's also the voice of Bart. And that's all we need to know about Nancy Cartwright. I mean, that's been keeping her employed for decades since that show started. Christine Cavanaugh is the voice of Marty, Jay's son on the show.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense okay, for sure. And his dad also, another funny thing, I'm looking at my notes now. He's so senile that he saw Jay has a thing on his rating system is called the Shermometer because his last name is Sherman, and his dad actually thinks he is a weatherman because of that, because it's always ice cold. So he thinks his son's a weatherman. He's pissing his pants. Who knows? He's senile, but Margot very very suspicious of this woman. They go on a horse ride, and we get another embarrassing fact. Jay doesn't go on horse rides, Steve, because of a certain incident that happened when he was a young kid, where we flash back and we see the stable guy who called him pissy pants or whatever. He's like, so you're sure you're under 80 pounds? And fat little Jay Sherman's like, yeah. And he walks over to get on a pony, and then we hear like a crack, and then he killed a pony. He was so fucking fat.
Killed another one, wee.
That guy is awesome, dude. And then we come back. So he's not on it. Margot's going on with Valerie on this horse ride. And Margot's like, look, you can tell this is where I like take the chick out and I'm just, sussing her out. You can tell me, like, are you just here to get a good review or like get some money or whatever? And she's like, no, I'm into your fat, gross brother. I love that little lump of shit.
And meanwhile, Jay, he's out at the arcades with his son, Marty, and they're playing the Big Apple, Escape from the Big Apple. And they run into a character played by Al Sharpton, or Al Sharpton character on the video game. And he just says, blah, 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 blah. And I guess that's the end of the game. And Marty's noticed a change in Jay's behavior. She's had a profound impact on his father. And Jay tells Marty that he's going to play sick, so he won't even have to review the movie. That way he could find out if this is for real.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to that premiere. I want to go with my new girl, my new gal pal, but I can't. I got too much. I love that he has so much integrity as a critic that he just can't say it's good. You want to get some push, just go, you know what? This movie's great. 3 thumbs, the thermometer, 5 stars. This shit's piping hot. Just to keep the love going. But he fakes sick. And, you'd think maybe even Valerie would be kind of pissed about that. But she even comes back and is like, oh my God, I heard you were sick.
Yeah.
I love you. Like, still, Steve, still. But a little wrench in the gears here. He thought he avoided the review because he didn't go. But then some guy knocks on his door. It's like some kid from his job, and they got a tape for him to review. So he has to review this shit, Steve. Yeah. Fuck.
Right at your doorstep, man. Years before Netflix. And it's like, well, fuck. So he writes her a letter. While she's still asleep, he writes her a letter saying, like, look, if you leave, I understand, but I got to be truthful about my review of your movie. And the movie fucking stinks.
Yeah, I mean, they show a clip of it, and at one point, the chick's like, ah! It looks crazy as fuck. So Jay, being the man of criticdom that he is, he has to just shred this thing. He does, but before he does, we get a couple of great movie previews again. One where Marlon Brando is playing some kind of babysitter.
Mr. French in its Family Affair was a 60s, I think 60s or 70s show back in the day. And this is Family Affair, the motion picture. And Mr. French was the butler of the family. And like you said, he's played by Marlon Brando, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's very. I think Maurice LaMarche does the voice of Marlon Brando, I'm assuming, because it is funny. But then Jay gets into his fucking review of Valerie's film, Kiss of Death. And he is shredding it, but he's trying to be nice about it. He's like, you know what? A lot of actresses have bad first movies. So maybe it's not that she's bad. It's just a bad movie. She'll get better, right?
There's hope. Yeah. Sally Field, Cher, those adorable Olsen twins from Full House.
So he's trying to soften the blow, but, credit to Jay. He's got some ethics. He's got some integrity, at least about his job. And he gives this review. Valerie is watching. And then he goes back to his place. Obviously, it's like when you fucked up in any relationship, you're about to open the door and you're like, please just don't be pissed off. Please. He opens the door. Valerie's there. We're not sure what the vibe is, but then she starts
slapping the shit out of him.
Flaring his ass, Steve.
You're still here.
Yeah. Let's have some sex, right? Let's do this. And no, there's no sex to be had for Jay. Not for a long time. He's going to be jacking off from those memories for a long time.
She rides on him, but not the way he likes, because she says, you're short, you're fat, and even for a film critic, you're ugly. He storms off like, oh, damn.
God damn. I mean, I've never had that happen to me. Have you ever been broken up with where the chick just goes for like the knife shred to the heart, Steve, where they get real personal with it? I've never had that.
I've had that, and
really,
but while we're still dating, then I have to end that, because it's like, no, I love myself. Leave me alone, bitch.
I'm okay. You just have to Stuart Smalley yourself, Steve. You really do.
Because they will do that. Not all. But from my experience,
actually, I'll take that back. I got that, but it came. See, for me, it came with a woman who was also doing this in my face a lot, like this is what I'm saying, like that. And when that happens, that's like a switch that I can't stop. I can't even hear anything at that point. You know,
starting to get Robert De Niro, Jackie Brown vibes. You better.
You shot her, yeah, man. Like she fucking was doing this in my face.
Yeah. So, man, the older I get, the more I kind of get it. I've been there, Robert. I won't do it, but
I get it, Sean Connery. I totally understand it.
Sometimes, you know,
I've tried everything I was gonna do, and sometimes a woman needs a nice firm slap on the face. Okay.
Like a pimp. Smack the hoe.
Yeah, but he gets it. I mean, he takes a full loss, Steve. But he did get into that. He got some puss. So this chick obviously was in it for the review, but at the end of the day, he clocked a little puss action in, Steve. He got some hot puss action.
Don't wash that hand for the next 5 days. Just, that'll suffice.
It's one of those memory bank ones where you're like, yeah, when times are tough, you're like, remember that one time though? Remember that?
and he follows her onto the bus, and she's like not trying to hear it. And as he's like watching the bus go away, we see Woody Allen in the background saying, "Sonia, I didn't know she was your sister." And he simps out so hard. He follows her all the way to the airport to see her fly away out of his life forever.
He's like, I don't believe you. You love me. This is true love. And I mean, he waits like maybe a nice 12 hours for it to get dark before he realizes back to fucking that pillow, Jay. Time to get back into that.
Good old Rosie Palm. And I also appreciate at the end, they do a Seinfeld parody.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, trying to just, hang out with his son. He's miserable. And he's like, I'm full of rage right now, and I have nowhere to direct it. So, and his son's like, but wait, you got 2 tickets to go see the new Sylvester Stallone movie, so let's direct that rage that way. And he goes to see Don't Stop or My Mom Will Shoot 3, to give it a good, a shitty review, Steve. All is right with the world.
Critic, man, we need you for more than 23 episodes, man. While John Lovitz is alive, bring it back, damn it.
This show, honestly, it would work. I know they're missing some people, obviously, because somebody died, but the show itself, this would work great as a reboot. And it's a cartoon, so we don't have to deal with like seeing John Lovitz look like he's on death's doorstep. If he does, I don't know what he looks like at this point.
And it can allow Nancy Cartwright to diversify her resume. You can't just, I get it. That's a big ticket item, Simpsons, but shit, hop out the box every now and then, Nancy.
I mean, if I'm anybody like Hank Azaria or Nancy, anybody that made all that money off of that show, what is the draw for me to do anything? I got a regular, I haven't even cashed one of these checks for a decade. I'm so fucking rich.
Yeah.
That's where we need to get, Steve. When we're banking money that we never even think about at that point. Like, how many checks has she just thrown in the bank for? It's like, okay. What? How much money do I got? Oh, wow, great. One of those. I need that.
Another Krusty the Clown check. Yeah, man, I'm sitting on that. But that
This
following
is from
year,
Treehouse of Horror '93. I can't believe I haven't even. This got lost behind my desk.
Malibu Barbie. Oh. Now, in 1995, the final episode of My So-Called Life airs on ABC, and no one gave a fuck. Not me, nor Matt. Thanks for trying.
Is this the one with Nev Campbell in it?
Not
That's
Nev
Party
Campbell.
of Five.
This is the redhead chick, Claire Danes.
Okay, Claire Danes. She's back. She's actually in a show that's gross called Fleischman's Something's Wrong with Fleischman. I don't know, something with Jesse Eisenberg that's like a depressing show.
She's
It's about Jesse Eisenberg fucking a bunch of chicks off the internet, basically. And I watched a couple episodes. I was like, I've seen more of Jesse Eisenberg's ass than anything, and I'm good. So stop.
Somebody who probably wasn't watching this final episode of My So-Called Life on ABC, Matt, was probably All-Star. of the NBA, Grant Hill, because with a record of 6,254,427 ballots cast by fans in the NBA All-Star voting, Detroit's Grant Hill becomes the first rookie to lead all NBA players in All-Star votes, and he earned number one. He broke the record with that number. He would eventually get, he broke the record with 1 million and some change, and that was his final number, the 6 million number.
Dude, Grant Hill, just a straight. You see that red jersey in the background, Steve? Matt Geddick was rocking that in seventh grade.
I remember. You totally were. You rode that jersey longer than seventh grade, buddy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, when you're fat, you got to rock with what you got to rock. But those the shoes he has on, that jersey, Grant Hill was a fucking beast. Totally. And he had some injury problems, you know, he had some issues, but I mean, I was all in on Grant. I didn't even like the fucking Pistons that much, but goddamn, he made me a fan.
He made the Pistons interesting again. You know, I think that same year, 95, he was co-rookie of the year, which isn't often. It was him and Jason Kidd because he was tearing it up in Dallas. And he was fresh off of a Duke campaign, one of the best career resumes, college resumes, man. Back-to-back champion. He was along with Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner. But yeah, out of those three from Duke, you know, he's possibly the best to come out of Duke. You know, either him
he
or
had
Kyrie.
Kind of like a more modern resurgence because he kind of got over the injuries and came back for a while, didn't he?
He did. He came back and played for the Suns and he played for the Magic. And I believe he was an all-star while he was with the Magic, man. So
hell yeah.
Grant Hill, thank you, bounce.
Get those feelers out real quick and just shine up that patent leather strip.
That same day in 1995, New Jersey Governor Christine Whitman dedicates a rest stop to Howard Stern.
She's the king of all rest stops now. That's awesome.
I think she has a thing for Howard. Look at how she's looking at that man. Take off
the amount of just tail that guy got. I mean, he probably did fuck that shit. I wouldn't doubt it. Either him or Jackie the Joke Man. Maybe he got one. He put his hot dog in a donut that day.
Like a little ketchup on your hot dog? That's not my best Jackie. I could do better.
That was more of a Jimmy Hart, I think, but either way.
Jimmy Hart, yeah, Jerry the King.
Yeah, baby!
Some guy that starts with a J. But in 1996, Big Bully premiered theaters. A writer returns to his hometown where he faces the childhood nemesis whose life he ultimately ruined. Only the bully wants to relive their painful past by torturing him once again. Directed by Steve Miner, starring Rick Moranis, Tom Arnold, Julianne Phillips, Carol Kane, Jeffrey Tambor, and Don Knotts. Oh, I don't know, Andy.
I watched this. It gets kind of like intense at the end because he really is like bullying Rick Moranis like in a really intense way. But you know, who wants to see Rick Moranis just get fucking beat on for? I don't like this, Steve. I like my Rick Moranis shrinking motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Did you watch this though? Did you ever see this movie?
No, but I kind of want to. I appreciate Tom Arnold for what he does in the acting realm, and I'm a fan of Rick Moranis. But this was probably one of his last movies before he kind of retired from the industry completely, man. I guess in this movie he plays a single dad, which was art imitating life, because in reality he was a single dad. You know, he had multiple kids, and I believe his wife passed away. So that was a big reason why he took a break from acting and focused on raising his children, man. Shout out to Rick fucking Moranis, dude.
Dude's a legend. He doesn't get enough respect. I mean, he's obviously known from people our age for those movies, but even before that, he was just a legendary sketch comedy dude, of upstanding Canadian by all accounts, correct? He is a Canadian.
Definitely Canadian. Strange Brew.
Hell yeah. I was about to bring that up. That's like one of those like hidden gem movies. I don't think, if you know, you know. It's one of those.
And he went from shrinking his kids to raising his kids. And on that same day in 96, Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored premiered. A narrator tells the story of his childhood years in a tightly knit Afro-American community in the Deep South under racial segregation, directed by the dad from Sister Sister, Tim Reed, the Venus Flytrap himself, Al Freeman Jr., Felicia Rashad, and Leon.
I've never heard of this.
it's a colored flick. And I mean, it's I was saying, like, I wouldn't expect a 13-year-old white kid to
Hey,
be like,
Steve, you want to come over and watch Roots with me, bud? Like, okay.
It's just one of them things, man. You know, I wouldn't expect you to be that super woke in the mid-90s in our adolescence, man.
It seems like a movie that would be shown in like school, though. You know, like this would
Yeah.
be something maybe they'd parade out at one of like our history teachers would just pull out at one point. But I've never heard of this one.
Totally, man. But
Shout out to the dad from Sister though, getting some extra work and directing a movie. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, can never go wrong with some Felicia Rashads either. The goat of TV moms, in my opinion. But that maybe should be another verses later down the line. 1997, Super Bowl 31 airs from Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Green Bay Packers beat the New England Patriots 35-21. The MVP is that traitor, Desmond Howard, Green Bay kick returner.
Desmond Howard, what? That dude, didn't he play for the Lions for a while too?
I'm not sure about the Lions, but I do know he played for those Wolverines despite being born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, you son of a bitch. You're welcome, Michigan. You're welcome, state up north.
I wonder how many people they snagged. You know, how many went up to Michigan? How many of those Ohio people? Because I have no stake in the game. I came to Ohio from Pennsylvania, so there's a little bit of resentment in that way. But I hate Michigan. I never do that.
Well, Charles Woodson did the same damn thing. Born and raised in Fremont. You're welcome, you sons of bitches.
You know, when you've seen that, when that's your version of Ohio, I get it. You know, Fremont's the best you can do.
Yeah, and Jim Harbaugh, he's from Toledo.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Well, I mean, Jim Leland left Ohio and went to fucking Pittsburgh, so everybody just gets out, Steve, except for LeBron, and actually he did too. So
He did too.
Sorry,
A couple times.
You did too. You fuck.
I did too. Like, we love it, but when we go out, we still represent. God damn it. Desmond Howard did not represent because he played for the Wolverines and he played for the goddamn Packers. Antoine Merriweather would be so proud, man. Like, this is the thing. They had this so-called dominance with Brett Favre. They had an era with Brett Favre. This is all you got. One Super Bowl ring. You wasn't that great because you came back and you lost to Johnny Elway in the helicopter spin. Bitch.
Yeah, now you just look like a scumbag with a little dick and a lot of legal issues. So fuck you. And from what I heard, Steve, I knew somebody that lived in Mississippi in the town that he's from. And the guy was a scumbag his whole life. So fuck Brett Favre and his big fucking gun arm. I mean, he fucking broke my heart a couple of times, but you're right. He got one Super Bowl.
That's it.
He got a copper knee brace commercial. He got a little bit of cash off that, and then he got a little bit of cash off some public servants or something. I don't know, some illegal shit.
Hardworking people of Mississippi, the poorest state in the country. But on some good news, your boy Mario Lemieux in that same day, he ties the NHL record with 4 goals in the third period as Pittsburgh wins 5-2 at Montreal. The 39th career hat trick and the 13th four-goal game, tying NHL record shared by Wayne Gretzky and Mike Bossy.
I'm telling you, we haven't even talked about Wayne Gretzky as much as we talked about Mario Lemieux. So I don't know. I don't know if you're doing this because I love Pittsburgh teams, Steve, but this dude is a straight. Say something about Mark Lemieux. Or Mario Lemieux. I just said Mark Lemieux. God damn.
He wouldn't appreciate that, Matt.
I'll slap my damn soul.
And this is post-cancer announcement, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Isn't that, we said it before, but isn't that wild? Like, how do you almost die and come back and just a fucking beast of the league again? This guy had some kind of Mickey Mantle gene inside of him, dude.
He's a fucking boss, man. And you know that movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme was fighting the penguin? He wouldn't have done that if it was Mario. That'd have been the end of that
How
movie.
badass would that have been if Lemieux came in with like a stick and just whooped fucking Van Damme's ass? Like that's like a deleted scene. He's like, wait a second.
Wow. Put my stick down. I don't even need the stick.
Slap shots of fucking puck at him, just knocks his ass out. He's like the guy you have to beat to get to the guy, you know? Mario Lemieux.
In that following year, 1998, the Lewinsky scandal has arrived. On American television, U.S. President Bill Clinton denies having had sexual relations with former White House intern Monica Lewinsky.
I didn't get my dick sucked by that woman.
And straight out of Pleasantville is his wife in the background, Hillary.
Stepford fucking wife or whatever that shit was called. Yeah. She's like, I am gonna kill so many people someday. God damn it. Stop fucking these fat interns, Bill. I told you.
I'm on my 6th bottle of Carlos Rossi. Where's this shit over with?
Cigars? God damn it. This again? That's what I love. Because I remember that movie Primary Colors that they made where John Travolta sort of played Bill Clinton like a, he wasn't him, but he was. That's what I always assumed. Like there was people in like Arkansas like, Jesus goddamn Christ, Bill, you're at it again? We got to clean this mess up again? Goddamn.
We got to put up a new mural. Who knows how to paint? We need an artist.
Hillary, goddamn it. Can't you keep put a fucking lock on that goddamn thing? Jesus.
Man, you ain't doing it right, Hillary. That's the damn problem.
We told you. Fucking spit on your goddamn hand first. Jesus fucking Christ.
Give it a spit shine.
Are you letting him put these cigars up on you? But what's wild about this, Steve? This is a level of scandal that we had to deal with. Him fucking some people, and they were killing people too. But we didn't know about that.
Yeah. We
just knew he was, fucking and sucking some interns, and like I gotta say, John F. Kennedy 10s. He's fucking some hotties. Bill Clinton was just like getting some morsels that were just left on the ground, like that weren't cleaned up. He's like, "Hey, you're here. You want to see a dick real quick?"
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe, she was not. It was like
remember when Monica Lewinsky had that episode with Tom Green where like they just hung out? Remember that?
I don't.
You don't? You gotta look that up. There was like an episode of the Tom Green show where he brought Monica Lewinsky to Canada, like I think maybe it was during this. But that's how she became famous, for just being a thought, Steve. And not even like a Instagram one that like a trainer that just is also sucking dick on the side. This chick was like taking notes in meetings and then taking some dictation in the oral office, if you know what I'm saying.
Big pussy. Ooh. And that following year, 1999, Halftime Heat airs on television, on cable, by WWF. And I forget about this because it was a special that I believe it was just this match. And it was an empty stadium with The Rock and Mankind. And
I don't remember this at all, then. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's The Rock just beating the shit out of Mankind, and with chairs, whatever is around. They move out of the main area. They go backstage. Did some more ass kicking, and I believe Mankind would eventually be the winner. You can't see it, but he's got The Rock pinned down underneath some pillar with some kegs on top of it for the 1, 2, 3. I believe that's how it ended.
Well, and they just fucking tapped a keg afterwards and just started partying. And then whatever. That's weird, though. They just had an empty stadium that they just were like, here, tear it up for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it wasn't for the Super Bowl. I don't know. I can't remember what it was for, because the Super Bowl was actually on January 31st of that year, 99. So it was a halftime
heat.
Maybe it was like the halftime of the Rose Bowl or something. I don't know. Like
possibly
some other shit. That's weird, though.
Pro Bowl or...
I've never even heard anybody talk about this. You'd think they'd like mention this on like a YouTube video of weird shit that happened in wrestling in the 90s.
It's talked about, just not a lot, because it was a standalone. And like I said, I think this might have been the only match for the halftime heat. It's just The Rock really kicking his ass for most of it. There's some back and forth, but yeah.
Damn, look at The Rock, though. The Rock looking just like a normal guy. If you saw The Rock like in that other shot you had, and you were walking behind him in a mall, you're like, oh, wow, that guy's pretty tall. That guy's a big guy. Now he just looks like Rhino from Spider-Man without the armor on. He's just like a tank.
You know those statues on Easter Island? He's like that with if they had a body attached to it.
what is the mix? I wish people would just be honest and just be like, this is what I take. Because I know he's I'm not saying anything about the guy not working out. I just want to know, what is it that you're doing on top of all that that's getting that done?
That makes you look way bigger than when you were a football player or a professional wrestler.
Or a human being. Like, because you've now evolved into some other higher being of muscle that, you know, you're not like in pain and walking around weird. You're just like a fashionable Easter Island rock dude that is just, you know, you can only buy clothes that are custom made, and you can only take, I guess, like the most highest level of steroid possible, because it's insane.
You
I
literally
want that.
Are a rock right now.
You've done it. I guess that was the plan the whole time, and we just didn't clock it. We're like, oh yeah, The Rock. That's cool. Not knowing 2023, this dude's he's a boulder. Fuck it.
And on that same day in 99, Foxy Brown releases China Doll. And this is probably the last decent Foxy Brown album. But she was a thing. And she was one of the femcs of the day, collaborator of a younger Sean Carter at the time. And Jay-Z is actually on this album. I believe you listened to a little bit of it before we started. And like I said before, this is also the album where they took the Dog Pound sample of Bomb Ass Pussy, and there are no lyrics. It's just that sample. And maybe the tie-in is because she used to date Corrupt around this time. Yeah, Corrupt of the Dog Pound. So maybe that's how she was able to get this on the album. But you need to check that out, Bomb Ass Pussy, on the Dog Pound's debut album. And do you have any callbacks, honorable mentions, or switcheroo?
Well, I just would love to check out some Bomb Ass Pussy, Steve. So looking forward to that. And really, the only thing that I wanted to point out that's not related to what we talked about is just I have played we've talked about the Turtles game, the Ninja Turtles game that they released recently. It's like a collection of stuff. The Ninja Turtles in Time game, got into that over the weekend. And I gotta say, dude, that's maybe one of the greatest. I need to buy that. Like, I want the arcade of that in my house, because that game, Ninja Turtles 90s, play that shit. It is awesome as fuck. So I don't know if it's useful information, but that's what I got to offer today, Steve.
To piggyback on that, I want that one, and I want the one that you mentioned last week, the wrestling arcade.
It is called Wrestling Superstars, by the way, or WWF Superstars, and it is available, Steve. So we can make this happen. Yeah. I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to be Ted DiBiase and just whoop the shit out of Sergeant Slaughter for some reason. That's just what's in my head.
Now, you know Sergeant Slaughter's been touched.
You're a fucking puke. You're a puke, Steve. What happened? Who was the decision maker who allowed that? I don't get it.
Vince,
you fucked that one up. That and Shockmaster. Well, that wasn't you. Yeah, it was.
That wasn't him. No,
that wasn't him. No, it wasn't him. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Vince.
They have their fair share of fuck ups, and so does Vince. He's got a current pile of mess that he has to clean up. And please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister that, ooh, she got some bomb ass pussy. Check out Over the Culture on Sundays, Crush You Guys with Kendra on Wednesdays, B3F Podcast, and Don't Worry, Be Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s.
If I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.